All right, this is one of another split videos where this first chunk, I'm going to be talking just about the campaign to stop games from being destroyed by publishers. And then, at the end of this, I'll switch over to the other video and it'll just be the usual random talk and discussion. I have a bunch of announcements. Okay, so I'll just try to run through them. The first is, we found out after I did the main campaign video on the 2nd that if you want to submit a complaint to the DGCCRF, you only have to wait 1 week instead of 2 after submitting a complaint to Ubisoft and waiting for them to respond, or for them to tell you, we shut the crew down, deal with it, If you waited 2 weeks, that's no problem. You can still do it, so it's not a big deal, but it does shorten that process, so. Also, some people had questions about what qualifies. Yes, you can submit a complaint to the DGCCRF if you receive the crew for free. I would recommend not volunteering that information. I mean, don't lie or anything, but you don't have to mention that part, because if somebody gifts you a car, like, yeah, here, have this car, and then they said, yeah, well, I'm going to take it back later. It's like, well, wait a minute, you own it now. It's so. Yeah, no, free owners count. They probably won't count as much since you're not going to have a receipt, but you could have like a screenshot showing proof of ownership, that sort of thing, And some people were asking about services like Xbox Gold Pass, like Live Gold Pass, whatever, where the crew is on the roster for games that you pay for monthly, but then it got removed. I'd say that doesn't really count, because it's kind of like you were renting it and that was like a bundle with it. Though what I would say is, if that honestly factored into your decision to, use the service, then you can maybe try it. But I generally would advise against that. I want cases where you clearly owned it, Next, oh yeah, as of today. Okay, well, as of Tuesday, the UK petition finally opened. And as of today, or at least when I'm streaming this, it'll be up on YouTube the next day, we hit 10,000 signatures already. And this is just with like me doing like minimal announcement. I just had like a Twitter post and a YouTube comment. Now, I actually misunderstood the process a little bit. It looks like we're due to receive a direct answer from the government apparently within 24 hours, though I'm guessing it might be a little longer because it's the weekend. I thought we were going to have to wait until October for that. Though I'm trying to take a pessimistic view on just almost every angle to kind of keep me from being complacent. The pessimistic view would be that they may just say, no, we're not doing this. But I noticed on other petitions, when they do that, they don't lock the petition. So you can keep signing it. So that makes me think, well, wait a minute, what do they do if they just say, nah, we don't want to do this at 10,000 signatures, but then if you make it to 100,000, they have to respond again, So then I'm wondering if it's going to be like an okay, we'll deal with this kind of situation. So even if it's negative, I recommend continuing onward with it. In fact, I'm going to try and reach out to more UK YouTubers on this. I figure best case scenario, they're going to say, we'll investigate this further, because I doubt they're going to know what to do with this. That's a great sign. I'm going to take that as we better hit 100,000. But we have until October to do it. So I think it's possible. I mean, the momentum slowed down a lot from the initial spark, but we made it to 10K already. I think with enough campaigning, we can maybe hit 100K. Worst case scenario will be them misunderstanding the problem and then giving an answer that is not what we specified. And then I get some more gray hairs. However, if they just say outright, no, we're not going to do this, well, then we know. However, I think we should still push it to 100K to just make it more awkward for them. Okay, and I'm not certain on this, but I have some information that suggests the Australian petition may be open as soon as next week. I don't know. I can't, but be on the lookout for it. I'll send the the newsletter. Oh yeah, we added a newsletter to a newsletter option to stopkillinggames.com. We were originally resistant because that incurred a lot more liability, but we found a relatively trustworthy third-party service to handle it. So there's no obligation. It's mostly just going to be to announce the petitions. So you don't have to sign up, but if you do, you'll get notified of when the petition's open, essentially. Canada is still jammed up, although all the volunteers are trying their best to try to accelerate it. Basically, no one in Canadian Parliament is responding, is the problem. And we need to attach someone's name to it. Anyone. So, they're making a lot of calls, the volunteers, and just emailing the offices, but there's only so much we can do. Let's see. Oh yeah, other news. This is, I guess for me, this is hearsay. Let me tell you my original plans. My original plans as of a week ago was thinking, I hadn't thought about the publicity on this as much as I should have, as far as like getting everybody to the right place and, setting up the site. And one thing I was thinking is, I should try to foster that some more. I was thinking of setting up an official Discord. But the problem is, right around that time, I got reports from the Cursed Farms Discord, which is totally unofficial. I've actually never even been in there, just because I didn't really mess with a lot of the social media stuff. Same goes, I have used the Reddit, but I'm not in charge of it at all. Apparently somebody showed up there and they seemed kind of suspicious to some of the regulars there, and they did a background check on them, and they found that they worked for a PR firm that did work for Ubisoft. So the theory is that maybe they were snooping around there trying to find something problematic they could smear us with. And I mean, who knows? I don't know what everybody's saying, so yeah, maybe. So that makes me think that, yeah, we're doing a good job. Like if we're getting that kind of attention. However, that makes me not want to set up an official Discord because, I don't want the liability. And if I'm being the spokesperson for all this, I can very clearly state what the stance of the whole campaign and initiative is. And this involves thousands of people. So everybody's going to have a different opinion and different views on it. And I'm not taking liability for that. We're just here trying to take legal action to stop publishers from destroying games. That's really the short and long of it. So feel free to set up something unofficial, though, that I'm not going to be directly attached to, because this doesn't all have to flow through me. I'm just stepped in because it seemed necessary. If you have other ideas of things we can do, great. Yeah, don't feel like you have to wait on me necessarily, or you can get together to brainstorm and stuff like that. Though that said, there is some stuff I would like help with that I was hoping to sort of crowdsource. I forgot to get the link. Oh, well. It'll be on YouTube later. I think it is already in the comments I replied to somebody on. Back when I did the Games as a Services fraud video, volunteers and I made a list of all the sort of game shutdowns we could find, and it varied. Like some were just complete kills. Others were like for multiplayer only, documented like which ones sort of got resurrected. But that kind of fell by the wayside not long after because everybody involved got tired of documenting all this. However, it might be helpful to kind of boot that up again and try and update it. Or maybe there's some sites that have already done this largely. The problem is it can be tricky to get the research done correctly because sometimes you always have to verify this stuff because the internet is full of information where it's like halfway true but then half absolutely false, and that can apply to like game shutdowns and whether they came back or that sort of thing. I'd say so I'll give a link to the old list that we had and a little later. And the other thing is, somebody's saying, could that be a wiki? Yeah, sure. Although it would be very nice to have a spreadsheet kind of export option from that, you know. The big information that could be useful, we don't know yet, just there's a lot of stuff floating around. It'd be great to have this like ready, you know, would be, oh yeah, we also included at-risk games. So in other words, they're working now, but if they just cut the servers, that's it, they're gone, you know. Big information would be, we'd be particularly interested in what I'm calling clean kills, ones where the game's just 100% dead. You know, like what I would call like a sloppy kill would be something like the DLC for Destiny 2, because then it's like, well, the full game didn't die and they took out content, but it's like, this would be hard to explain to like a judge what happened there. I mean, I personally think that's just as big a deal, but you know, if we're dealing with legal stuff, that's that's harder to explain. The other thing is, ones for the ones that did come back, did the parent, this is like crooked, did the parent companies do anything to assist? And I don't mean like giving permission. That's like, I don't even count that. I mean, like, did they release like documents or some source code or anything like that? Did they do anything practical to help? That's another, I don't think we even checked that because most of them were going to be no. But yeah, so they'll be, and even if you don't get like a master list, getting like the highest, the most well-known ones, like, would be useful also. But anyway, if somebody wants to kind of crowdsource that and work on it independently, or maybe a lot of this has already been done on other sites I'm just unaware of, go at it, you know. And then later, if it comes up, you know, we could use some of this. Okay, more news. We had a member of European Parliament, Patrick Breyer, give a tweet on the whole initiative with Stop Killing Games and looking into the crew, and said he was going to investigate that. That was looking promising. However, from what I've heard, it sounds like he's on his way out, like he's not going to win re-election. So that may go nowhere. But the good news is another member of Parliament has stepped into this, just kind of through basically a friend of his knows about my videos and talked to him, and I literally talked to him yesterday. So I don't actually want to say what exactly we're up to, just to kind of like not tip off any of the infiltrators if they're watching this. But yeah, I can say who it is though. It's I'm probably gonna butcher his name, Nicholas Ninas or Ninas. Sorry if I got the name wrong, but yeah, he is a member of EU Parliament, and he might be able to help us out. So we're kind of making some inroads there. And on that, I could use much more specialized research for what we're working on, that some of you may have already contacted me about this, but it's a bit buried in my emails now, so you can send it to me again. But in general, what we're looking for is, you know, the situation with the crew. Like, people bought it as a one-time purchase, you know, almost certainly a good, but it relied on a free service to function. And then when they shut that down, the game was completely inoperable. So based on that, this is for European Union law that we're interested in. What articles or directives or initiatives or whatever do you think this most likely might be a violation of? Like, which spot? This isn't like a court thing exactly. This is just like, if you were to take your best guess. So if you wanted to play armchair lawyer, here's the place to do it. You don't have to be a lawyer. You could be either familiar with this or a law student or anything like that. If you think you know or have like a list of a few, email me at rosswscott@gmail.com. This is kind of timely. We kind of want to get this information sort of wrapped up within about a week. So that's kind of short notice. Like some examples I've heard of, like the Digital Services Act, I think. Those passed, like, it might have been last year or the year before. There's also EU Directive 2019 770. But even then, you'd have to find like which part of that probably pertains to that. So these were probably digital goods, but then they were cut. So yeah, if you see like any potential legal problems with that and can point to like which part you think it's violating, let me know. We have some people looking at that, but I'd like even more eyes on this if we can. So, but yeah, that's very specialized help there. So, more news. I've gotten some word back. Oh, I forgot how to pronounce it. Germany's Consumer Protection Agency. This is interesting. I think they are aware of what we're doing because somebody sent me a response that they had about something completely different, where this person filed a complaint with them independently about how Blizzard like changed their terms of service and locked out everybody of their games until you agreed. So they reported that, and the response said, yes, we are aware of that problem and of Ubisoft with The Crew. So the agency just volunteered that information out of nowhere. So that's a good sign. But still, if you're German, keep filing complaints, you know. Oh yeah, remember, for Germany, you don't have to be an owner to file a complaint on it. I think that's only for Germany, though, that we're kind of confident saying that. That you're just, you reporting this situation, you don't find it, you think this is a violation of the law or consumer rights, or there's a guide for it on stopkillinggames.com under Germany. So, more news. This is kind of minor. I just wanted to clarify some things. We've been making quite a bit of news articles on this. There were two things I wanted to clarify. One, I think it might have been Eurogamer, though I'm not sure. They said I was trying to stop game shutdowns. No, that's not the case. I want companies to be able to shut down games whenever they want. What I'm trying to stop is leaving no recourse for the players whatsoever. So, you know, you got to patch it or give out essential tools or something so they can keep running it. So I just wanted to clarify that. And PC Gamer had something where it was almost correct, but they were saying I was targeting the developers and really trying to stop developers from doing this. It's like, well, mostly no. Who I'm targeting is whoever's in charge, and that's usually the publishers. The developers at big companies are usually just following orders. So I'm not, so I wanted to clarify that. Yes, some developers could be doing this completely of their own initiative, you know, destroying the game but keeping people's money. In those cases, yes, I am targeting the developers, but by and large, it's the publishers I'm targeting on this. So just wanted to clarify that. Okay, more news. Oh yeah, in Australia, finally have secured, remember that thing I talked about a few videos back? We're saying that the ACCC would probably pay more attention to a formal legal complaint filed by a law firm. We've secured an Australian law firm that they're going to kind of signal boost this. Oh, and speaking of which, I've gotten the list of a lot already, but if there were any Australian owners of The Crew, what we're going to do is the law firm's going to file an official complaint to the ACCC in such a way that's way more likely to get their attention on this issue. And they're also going to include a list of affected owners to help boost it. If I haven't contacted you at all, or you haven't contacted me, and you'd like to be on that list and you're Australian, go ahead and email me or Twitter or whatever. And we can add you to the list later. So, and oh yes, and for Australia in particular, I mentioned we secured a law firm to do this. This is one of those things I was considering doing a fundraiser on because we're not going to be filing a lawsuit because that would just be astronomically expensive. But we're filing an official complaint from a law firm. But that's still kind of pricey. One person who's been followed the channel a long time offered to step up and basically fund this out of pocket in exchange for a small promotion, which I'm going to do right now. This is the first kind of video I've ever done like that. They run a website. They run a web game. I think it's kind of a mud called torn.com. You know, okay, there's the logo there. And it just kind of sounds like a MUD, except contemporary setting. It's all text-based. But apparently they have 50,000 players daily. That surprised me. So, and I love the irony of it, that this is an online-only game that's paying legal fees for us to try to end the practice of destroying games. So I have to assume they have an end-of-life plan, you know? So yeah, that was the promotion, and that basically just paid for the Australian action. You may hear me talk about them again once we get to the Brazilian lawsuit later, because he's offering to cover funds for that too. And that's a hell of a lot easier to just do that and be done with it than having to do a full fundraiser, especially if he has some pockets to reach into. I'd rather that than somebody who's like, struggling to make rent, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I told him this would be like a pretty kind of half-assed promotion here. He was fine with that. So yeah, and I'll have to check that box on YouTube. Let's see. Yeah, I'm willing to. I've never done one of those, I think, in the videos, but I'm willing to do that just to like push the legal fees forward, because that saves us a lot of time and money. So, okay, more news, because it's been busy. French owners of the crew who have already sent a registered letter to Ubisoft as part of the mediator process. If you haven't contacted me, please send me an email, rosswscott@gmail.com, or if you know somebody who did, they can send me an email. It can be in French, that's fine. We need a few more people that we can get on board for the next step. We don't need a lot, but we could use a handful more. And then we can kind of proceed forward with the mediator step. But you would end up talking with somebody French who has been helping to kind of orchestrate some of this. So yeah, any French owners who sent the registered letter to Ubisoft as part of the steps. You don't have to have done anything else, but just be an owner of the game. And I think that applies to free owners also. So if you didn't do it because you were an owner of a free copy, I think you can do it. So if that gets us a few more people, then great. More new, and the same kind of goes for Brazilian owners of the crew. This is going to be a little later. I don't have anything for you yet, but just send me an email or Twitter. Again, rosswscott@gmail.com. It's looking more and more likely we are going to be having the Brazilian lawsuit. So, what? So yeah, I've heard it's maybe not actually required, but it would probably help to, again, have an owners list, affected owners list of people we can add to that. Or I'll see. I'm still getting details. That's probably out of my hands more than anything else I'm doing is the Brazilian lawsuit. I have to just go by kind of what's told to me. But yeah, if you wanted to, I don't expect tons of people to reply because I'm doing this in English. If we need a lot more people, I'd try to reach out to some Portuguese-speaking YouTubers. But, if we have a few preliminary ones, it might not hurt. Oh, shoot, I forgot to get the link. Okay, well, this will be on YouTube, or maybe I can risk getting the link. I don't know. Somebody sent... Well, okay, I'll just put it on YouTube later. Somebody sent me this ad. They made this mock-up ad for Stop Killing Games. It looked straight out of if this was an announcement in the early 90s that you were watching late night or something. So it's kind of neat. It kind of stood out above the others. It's from this guy that used to run a racing YouTube channel but kind of gave up on it in December when the crew announced it was shutting down. I don't know if that's because he'd stopped, but I thought I'd link to that because this one was pretty good. If you had shown it to me, I would have thought this was recorded in 1991 or something. So, a couple tangential topics. Oh yeah, a few people reached out to me about the big Nintendo shutdown of multiplayer, and of more recently Sony shutting down the online component of Little Big Planet 3. And they're asking if we can act on that. The short version is mostly no, though if you're in Australia, you can probably still give it a shot. It would be my advice, going through the ACCC. So the problem is Nintendo, their outlet in Europe is located in Germany. And I asked the German volunteers about this, and they said just shutting down the multiplayer, they're not sure that that's even against the law or any violation at all. So again, that's not like a clean kill, like the Crew where it's just everything. So I'm not sure there's much of an angle to cover there. However, I will say everything we're doing, if it's successful, it will protect against stuff like that in the future. It's just that we have to we're coming in awfully late in the process, but this was the only real big opportunity we had. Now for Sony, their European outlet is located in the UK. So it's, what? Somebody's saying I'm missing the Spanish language? Well, I mean, it's not on stopkillinggames.com. I mean, yeah, I still need to reach out to Spanish speakers, but, I've been busy, guys. I'm kind of behind on reaching out to everybody, but it's slowly happening. But yeah, Sony's located in the UK, and that's outside the European Union, so none of the EU laws would apply. So I'm not sure there's much room to act on that. Again, except Australia. Australia, you might have a chance for filing complaints against that. But the other two, I guess you could try for, well, no, because that's both just the multiplayer component. And again, if the Germans are saying that there's no obvious law against that, I'm not sure there's much we can do. That's why, I really wasn't kidding about the Crew being the game to do this on. It's not because I'm a fan. That's a coincidence. I would have done this for any big game in this position, even if I didn't care about it personally, just because it's a way to get our foot in the door on all this stuff. Because I can't see any obvious way of doing complaints that'll lead to success for again, that's for Sony and Nintendo. So somebody was saying about WiiWare games. Now, if you lost the game in its entirety I don't know a lot of the details on the Nintendo situation. If you lost the game in its entirety, then yes, I'd say if you're in Germany, you can submit a complaint on this. For other EU countries, maybe, but the research is going to be hell, But yeah, if you lost the game in its entirety, so not just the multiplayer or online component, then yeah, I'd say go to stopkillinggames.com, the German outlet for Nintendo, and just try to adapt the instructions, except make it for Nintendo, that sort of thing. But yeah, our options are so limited. We really did get lucky that Ubisoft had a big shutdown like this. So, oh yeah, and the last thing I had, because I think this kind of got brought up on other stuff, I've been seeing this comment pop up everywhere on videos related to this, especially the Crew, where they're saying, oh, what? If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. And initially I was sort of frustrated by this, but now I just look at it okay, what that says to me when it's about the Crew is it's like a giant billboard on your forehead that says, I do not understand the problem. That's what that says to me. The Crew was never pirated. Darkspore was never pirated. Lawbreakers was never pirated. I think maybe almost all free-to-play games were never pirated. So the people saying that just don't get it. I've tried to explain it. They're probably still not going to get it for another 10 years. Whatever. They're not our enemies. They just don't get it. Every time I see that now, I'm imagining just a smiling SpongeBob SquarePants, just with a blank stare, and I'm thinking, okay, well, they're trying, I guess, but you're barking up the wrong tree for this. But besides, I think a lot of de novo games, they've been out years and haven't been cracked. So look, it's conceivable in the future for a lot of games, piracy is just not possible. I mean, it's the stuff's getting complicated. So who knows what happened? However, that makes what we're doing all the more relevant because then it won't be necessary to have piracy to preserve a lot of games. So, okay, and now I'll just address some fan questions that were related to the game campaign. I skimmed through some. And then I'll switch to just the random stuff. Let's see. Have you heard anything from Ubisoft or any of its employees since the start of your campaign? I mean, I filed the complaints through the customer support. I got their template response. Other than that, no, I haven't heard a thing. So, however, if we had a PR infiltrator, then I guess they've heard of what we're doing, at least on some level. Now, hey, if they want to ignore us, that's fine. That is no. In fact, I'm totally on board with Ubisoft ignoring us. Keep it up, you know. Let's see. Should we address the blanket response from Ubisoft sent to all who filed cases when contacting the DGCCRF? I mean, you can if you want. It's not. Just say that they, you know, don't intend to do anything to allow you to keep running the game in any form, you know, or fix the game so you can run it without their support. That's what you really want to say. It's always good to emphasize that you want to run it without their support, you know. So we don't. Endless support has never been a goal of the campaign in any form, you know. Just to shut it down responsibly is the thing. And, oh yeah, this is an interesting one. Have you seen that Ubisoft has been removing the license from the crew from people's accounts? Does this matter when trying to provide proof of purchase? Do you think your call to arms is why they're doing this? Does this affect anything you're trying to accomplish? No, this does not affect anything we're doing. This doesn't change the plans at all. 2, I'm not sure. This is where we would need the armchair lawyers. I'm not even sure technically they've removed your license. What they've done is remove access to the files. But if you still have like that inaccessible entry in your account, that might mean you still technically have your license. I don't know. But here, let's say for sake of argument, yes, they've removed the license. This is a little tricky in my eyes because on one, well, I mean, it's only a positive really, but we just have to make sure we keep focusing at the right direction. Because on one hand, that might get them into even more trouble in Europe. I'm not sure. I don't know all the details. And it might escalate it more than what we're looking at, but I don't want to push that angle that much because the natural remedy to that is just allow people to access the bricked client. And that doesn't really get us anywhere. You know, I mean, some people are saying, oh, but no, that's really necessary to create a server emulator. Listen, the people creating server emulators, they backed up their copy months back. You know, I mean, not that not that I would even know how to create a server emulator, but I kept a copy of my client files just in case, you know. Maybe that's useful later on. So that's not that big a deal. Plus, then if the remedy is, okay, fine, you can download your bricked client that doesn't work. If that's the full solution, then that's a complete dead end in my eyes. So I don't really care about that angle. I'm trying to hammer home, no, they made it inoperable. Like, as in no one can play it. And I don't care if they're giving access to the files or not. I mean, it could be there's another angle to it I'm missing. But again, it's kind of like that on physical copies. A lot of them said expires January 1st, 2099. Well, that's not good enough by itself because that's only good enough to create like an expectation that the game runs indefinitely, like most computer games, you know, or video games. Because by itself, the obvious remedy is, okay, just don't put that on future copies. And that does nothing to save games. So I am really kind of like laser focused on just like, I need to see a path where this could possibly save the game. And if the end of that path doesn't do that, then I just kind of throw it out. So, and I said, do I think my call to arms is why they're doing this? I have no idea. I kind of doubt it, actually. I kind of think they're just running on autopilot, and this was the plan all along. Again, it can only help. It either doesn't, at worst, it doesn't change anything, and at best, it helps us, because then the way it would help is if a consumer agency is looking at this and they see that violation, they're like, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. But we're all complaining about this other issue that, hey, the game's inoperable. Then maybe it can signal boost it the other way. But I would not focus on that, because, again, I'm not even certain they have removed your license technically. Maybe they have, I don't know. So whatever. Focus on the fact that the game doesn't run for anyone. That's the part to focus on. So, and that you paid for this as a one-time purchase. So if you're ever confused about how to look at this, that's what you look at. Just keep it simple, you know. Okay, let's see. Are there any other? I think that's it for the campaign updates. Yeah, like I said, there were a lot of them. So, okay, I better end this, and then I'll just talk about the usual random stuff. So, thanks for listening.